So for histology in my embryology course, it's a 5 credit hour course, and I usually have it between 4 to 6 times a week. Can be 50 minutes or it can be 2 hours. For histology, I do have a lecture and a lab. For the grading system, we do have 2 quizzes, 1 midterm and 1 final, but the lab and the lecture portion is combined into 1 exam, so you don't have to take 2 separate exams. And then for the lecture portion, we learn the histology and embryology of different systems. We kind of correlate to the physiology and anatomical structures that we learn in the other classes. But for histology lab, we meet once a week, and the professor goes over certain things that we should know based on a histology slide, and it's in a PowerPoint presentation style, so you're given the pictures, but you have to label on there kind of what the structures are, so you can kind of study from that. You will be tested on the lab material, on the midterm and the final, not on the quizzes. For me, my struggle in this one is that there's so much material that is covered. It is difficult for me to find time to study everything that the professor wants us to do, and also that we cannot ask questions during the lecture. That's just the professor's rule. We only are able to ask questions after lab hours. So you have a block of time for your histology lab, and usually the lecture for it doesn't go over an hour, so that last hour is for you to ask questions if needed. And then, for that, it can be challenging. All the other professors allow us to ask questions during class, and I know it can irritate some people, but just be prepared for that for histology. But for some of the study methods I do is Kahoots, Quizlets, attending the PLGs, which are the peer learning groups, and then asking the professor questions during the lab hours. But as some recommendations for the course, get help from the professor if needed, attend the tutoring services, self-test, ask questions during the lab time if needed. And yeah, other than that, histology is pretty okay. There's just a lot of material, and then when you hit embryology, it starts to become pretty complicated with what things are derived from, and you do have to know that, and then the folding of the embryos in different species, and it gets quite complicated. But if you start drawing out the flow charts and all of that, you should be good too. So whiteboarding for histology would probably be very helpful as well. Alright, so for my clinical orientation course, it's a 1 credit hour class. For the clinical orientation lecture, there's lectures in small animal physical exams, small animal behavior, learning how to do medical records as a professional, doing an equine physical exam, equine breeds, bovine physical exam, and then large animal breeds. And then days per week, it really depends on the week. Sometimes we don't have clinical orientation at all, and sometimes we can have it up to 2 times a week. And for the lab portion, we have 1 day at the small animal clinic where we're doing our small animal physical exam. We do it in front of another veterinarian, and then we get to ask her any questions that we want on how to do a physical exam, and then we're kind of tested on it after an hour of practice. And then at the large animal facility, you get to go there twice, 1 for bovine, 1 for equine. And you practice doing physical exams on them as well. Also for the clinical orientation lab, sometimes you'll go to the simulation lab, and this is kind of where you go to before you head to the large animal facility, just to learn how to halter these types of animals and move around them safely. But there is a dress code for this course. It depends on what you're doing, but for the most part, you do need a white coat, scrubs, solid color again, like I said earlier, and then a watch that has seconds on it. It cannot be your phone. Trust me, people have asked. You do need rubber boots, a stethoscope, which is provided to you during welcome week here, and your hair does need to be tied up, and if you're going out to the barn, you have to have it in a bun. You can't just have it as a long hair tie. But you also need a writing utensil. Although for the writing utensil, don't bring it to the simulation lab because they made me get rid of mine. And then, so for the grades for this course, participation in the lectures and the labs are mandatory. You do have 6 quizzes throughout the entire term. Some are worth more than others, it just really depends. And then you also do have a final examination, which is an OSCE. So this is more of like an in-person simulation lab final. We haven't gotten too many details about it yet, but we're gonna be doing a lot of stuff with equine, bovine, and dogs in the simulation lab. And there'll be like different stations, and then we have to answer a few questions about it. But it is worth 50% of our grade, 5-0, so you definitely want to do pretty well on it. But yeah, for clinical orientation, there's really no need to study anything per se. I would just make sure you're more comfortable with doing physical examinations by looking at the videos that they provide you, just to get an idea of what they're looking for when you do your physical exams at the small animal clinic and the large animal facility. But other than that, there really isn't much to clinical orientation. This is kind of the fun class, just because you're actually doing hands-on instead of just doing lectures. You actually get to touch animals on this course, so it's kind of nice. Hi guys, so it is another day. I apologize. I had a lot to do yesterday, so that's why change of outfit. But for my radiology course, it's a 1 credit hour course, and in that course, we go through the normal dog and cat radiographs, including like difference in ages. But we also go over like different positionings and views and how best to position the animal for certain radiographs. For how much we mate per week, it depends on the week again, just like any other course, but usually it's 1 time per week. And for the radiology lab, we also do have that 1 time per week. And so in radiology lab, we finish off the lecture material if needed, if we didn't get through everything, and then we do a Kahoot over the material we just learned. So the radiology lab, it's not very like extra material to know, it's just helping you study basically for your final. Because in this course you only get 1 quiz and 1 final, so your grades do matter. The final is worth, I think, like 75% of our grade, so you definitely want to do well on it. For studying wise, I just do the Kahoots that the professor gives us, and if I get so many wrong, I go through the lectures again, just to make sure I'm up to date on everything. I've never taken a radiology course before, and it's not the easiest to find something on a radiograph. I know we're looking at the normal anatomy right now, but some of the stuff we see looks like it's abnormal. So trying to figure that out has been difficult, and trying to see what the difference is between a Basset Hound versus a Great Dane or a German Shepherd. All of their radiographs look a little bit different. So, but for radiology, that's about it. Next up will be professional development. Okay, so for professional development, it's also another 1 credit hour course. Attendance is mandatory though for all of the lectures. It goes over different topics of professionalism in the veterinary profession, ethics, finances, well-being. We do a lot of different interactive classroom exercises. For grade-wise, you basically only have assignments, and then you have to do mentor meetings as well. You'll be assigned a mentor once you start doing the professional development classes. There's no final, no midterm. The only grades you get is assignments and your midterm evaluation and the final evaluation. Basically, that's just points, like deciding how often you come to class. For this, it's a pass or a fail grade, so you definitely want to do the assignments and go into class. But next up will be the basic small animal nutrition. So for the small animal nutrition, it's another 1 credit hour course, and it is a hybrid system. So like the first week of classes, actually 2 weeks, sorry. 2 weeks of classes, it's on like the Mark Morris Institute page. So we have to go through a bunch of different modules. It's all online, so we don't have to go in person to lecture. And then the second half, so 2 extra weeks. This course is only 4 weeks. You do it right after midterms. It's added into your schedule. You don't drop anything, just so you know, it gets added on. But so for the second half, like I was saying, we do have an in-person lab that is mandatory, and then we also have like different types of lectures in person too. And for grade-wise, it's going to be 1 quiz and 1 final. So again, this is another course you don't want to slack on. All of these courses you don't want to slack on, but with the 1 credit hour classes, it is really easy to get behind. And this will be like the 1 courses where you'll decel. And you don't want to do that, where you have to be held back an extra term. No one likes doing that. So just keep up with the work, study as much as you can. But for the animal nutrition, since it's only 4 weeks, we actually have classes like 5 days a week. So it can get pretty challenging to keep everything straight. But the professor has a nice checklist that we can go through to make sure we're up to date on everything. So definitely use that. For studying wise, after each module, there's like a summary page that I've been taking pictures of. But as far as that, I am going to a tutoring service this coming week just to see kind of how the final is going to run. Because we don't even know if it's in person yet or if it's online, open book. We have no idea what it is. But we should be hearing about that soon, so once we do, I'll probably make an announcement on the Facebook page. If you guys do want to join the Facebook page, I'll link it down in the description.